Hey everyone, you're watching Pop Culture with Pat, and my name is Alicia Rotaro. I am the voice of Black Canary and Black Canary, Dinah Laura Lance, and Young Wonder Woman and Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths. Tune in and have a blast.
Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. So I'm so excited to be joined by today's guest. You can catch her in her most recent project, Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 3. She plays two Black Canaries and a Wonder Woman in the film. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. Please welcome Alicia Rotaro.
Hey, thanks for having me, Pat.
You are very welcome. So just to kind of to start things off, I always like to, ask this of my guests, where did your love for film and television, where did that kind of come from in the first place for you?
You know what? If I have to really tread down memory row, it's probably just as a kid. Like I used to watch movies on repeat, apparently all the time. Like my parents had a Disney collection that they started up for my sister and I. And I think my mom would tell me that I would just watch a movie until like we almost had to buy a new VHS tape.
Same, same. My parents definitely told me the same thing that there was the Great Mouse Detective. That was like
It's what a
that was
good
one of my
movie.
favorites
Yeah.
as a kid, and I like ruined the tape because just
Yes.
watching it over and over again.
Yeah, you're like, oh, good. If you don't know what a VHS is, I just dated us, but you should
Yep.
figure it out. But yeah, no, I think that's probably where it got etched in because, like, now that I'm a mom and I have a 3-year old, I'm just like, holy shit, like, is she watching this movie again? But it makes sense. So I probably started there, and then I was, a competitive pianist my entire youth, like up until I retired that instrument at like 18, 19 years old. So I was like always on stage, and then in theater, I did, high school theater, and then I did that as my degree in university. So I just kind of always I guess like I never really thought about it, but I guess I always just love stories and like telling stories and then like being immersed in them.
Yep. You're a
Um,
storyteller, yeah.
yeah, I guess, or I just love something else about it that I still don't really know. I just love it all. Like I'm just like, let's do this. Like I think it's just the creative collaborative effort that I truly enjoy, to be honest. But
Do you remember like was there any specific film or TV show watching, younger as a kid that you were like, that's what I want to do when I get older? Or,
No, no, because I didn't know, like, like my parents, the way we were raised, it wasn't really like in our culture in our house that that was a creative, like, career outlet.
yep.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like, it was almost like a side thing that you do, like, for fun. So I didn't, if I'm being honest, like, I really didn't think it was a tangible thing, like, to live your life off of until like my 20s. Like way later in life when I was like I had an agent and I was auditioning and booking, but even then like still working at restaurants, like a medical clinic, like other side hustle jobs until it really just became full time, full on, beyond full time, which is awesome. But it was a weird thing to wrap my head around because like I mean I don't know, like I know my parents know what I do for a living now, obviously, but I just and they're proud about it and like everyone gets it, but I don't know if they really get it.
No, no, I completely
Like I'm not a
understand.
doctor, or like a
Yeah.
lawyer or like an engineer. So it's
But
kind of
it's a lot of
different.
work. Yeah, I mean, being in the
Yeah.
entertainment industry, there's a lot. I mean, looking at, just going through what you've done throughout your career too, and just looking at your resume as far as like what you've had for like voiceover acting, it's like 90 something plus like credits or whatever, like so far in your career. It could be more. I remember just
Oh
seeing
God,
that
I
like
don't
on
even
your
know.
IMDb, but I was just like, man, what an impressive, resume. So it's like you've done a ton of work, but yeah,
Thank you.
it's a lot. I imagine it's just kind of nonstop, it feels like at times.
Yeah, I mean it was nonstop for a while there with like all the stuff going on in the biz, but yeah, it's kind of like always like pinch me because I'm in it, like I'm in it to win it, like
Yeah.
every day. And my husband's in the business too. Like, oh my God, he's literally been auditioning all day, like every week. Like it's just crazy. So it's kind of nice. Like, thank you for bringing that to the table because it's kind of a nice moment to just be like, oh yeah, shit, let's reflect on everything and be like, hashtag gratitude. But
Yeah.
like for real, um, yeah, it is a lot, and it does take a lot of your energy because it's not like something you just do a 9 to 5 with and then leave the office and then come home. It's like kind of part of your life all the fucking time.
Yep.
Um, and you have to create those, sacred boundaries to find you again so that you have your own thoughts and your own body and your own life. But it's something that I think takes years to master, right? Like it's a craft and you have to keep at it no matter what that looks like. If it's just auditioning or auditioning and booking or taking class or going and seeing theater or performances or, like you said, films. So it's kind of just always there.
Yeah,
But
it's one of those things which I feel like you can maybe kind of apply to other fields too. Like if it's something where if you're not in it, or at least like if you're not a nerd about it, like I am myself, and there's still a lot of stuff that I don't understand about the internet. I don't think I'm like an expert or anything, but if you're someone from the outside, like looking in, sometimes I feel like you don't necessarily understand all of the little ins and outs and what goes into, doing these projects. I've learned a little bit more getting to work on
yeah,
some background doing some background for like film and stuff, and where you can literally be shooting a scene like all day,
yeah,
and that scene will maybe be like 30 seconds like a film or something like that.
maybe. Yeah, especially if
Yeah,
it's like a
maybe.
big ass stunt scene. Yeah, like
Yeah.
who knows? Yeah, yeah,
So
agreed.
it's
That's a
it's
great
definitely
way in
something.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
like
I
background is awesome. I started doing background 2 years ago, so it was just like great, a film set.
yeah, no,
Like who
it's at
knew?
first, if you're someone that's passionate about, like, obviously you have to be, passionate about it, but I just love being on there and getting to see all the behind the scenes going on and stuff like that. But yeah, your most recent project that, just came out, Crisis on Infinite Earths, where you're playing multiple characters. So can you just talk a little bit about that? Like what was that like? Because it's enough doing like one character, or one voice for like a character, but you did three, at least three, like in this film.
Yeah, I mean, it's always new because like they don't really tell you a heads up until they kind of have the script locked and you're going in and you're booked for session. But I did get a little inkling that I was going to be doing like a double whammy Black Canary thing, and I'm sure we all know what that is if you've seen the movie. But I had to play like OG Black Canary, like Dinah, like the OG, and then play Laura Lance, kind of vibes. And that was interesting. Like I was like, okay, how are we gonna do this? And I'd mentioned it before, and like even in the studio with Wes and like the team, I was like, what's OG gonna sound like? Like, is she, like, are we like huffing her up? Like, has she lost her voice? Like, what's going on? Like, and it's not about making it a caricature, but it was just trying to find that balance point because it is your kid and you are the mom, but I don't know. Like, I'm not there yet with my kid where I'm like, oh, does my kid sound like me? Because right now she sounds like a 3-year old. But yeah, we had a fun time just trying to create it, and it came pretty quickly. I mean, Wes is an amazing voice director, so we zoned in, locked her in, and then moved on to the other character. And then at one of my sessions, he just threw me the role of young Wonder Woman because he's like, hey, I know you can do this. Like, can you just lay this down? And I'm like, yeah, great.
No
Like,
problem.
so yeah, that was kind of fun. And like, it was just kind of a few takes of like, finding that character's flavor. And then say la vie.
It must have been really fun too, especially with the two, Black Canaries, just to kind of find like that dynamic between those two different characters. Like you said, how to make, differentiate the two of them. Because I'm sure at times it can be, challenging, especially playing like multiple versions of a character.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really have a lot to go on for like the younger version, except the fact that she was like more in the now times, you know what I mean? So we wanted to give her just a little bit more of that sound quality of maybe what you're hearing right now, like something more grounded in the way we speak with our syntax and just like the energy. Um, and then that was kind of, I would say, like our grounding point because we had Dinah established like before in like the other film, but she wasn't like so old then with the wrinkles. But it was, yeah, it wasn't too challenging, I'd say, but we just really wanted to make sure that they sounded different.
Yeah, for sure.
And they did. I think they did a good job about isolating that with me. So,
Yep. Yeah, agreed.
yeah.
Do you now you've gotten to play, several different superheroes over your career, these characters, She-Hulk you done the voice for. So I'm curious, is there any other heroes out there that you would love to get the chance to kind of jump into that world and voice or even maybe play in live action as well?
Oh God, hell yeah. I mean, like totally away from like the DC world. I mean, I've always been like love me a good Tomb Raider,
Oh, yep.
Lara Croft, like
Yep.
hi. And then there was a comic book like ages ago I got obsessed with that my high school best friend shared with me back in like grade 9 called Witchblade. Like loved that comic. Like she's a badass hottie. Um, but in terms of like I don't know, things that are sticking to the ether of like what everyone's into these days. I don't really have like a targeted, let's say, like verse, like universe that I'd be like, oh yeah, this character in this universe or this character. I like if I'm being honest, like I kind of want to do something nasty where I'm like super evil.
There you go.
Like
I
I
mean,
think
playing
that
a
would be,
villain's always fun.
yeah, it is. And I just really I love that. Like I love taking the dark side a little bit. I haven't had a chance to do that a lot, but yeah, I think like that could be kind of fun.
No, I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
And I mean, the choices that you brought up would be great too. Um, I know they have a Laura Croft, like a Tomb Raider animated series that's coming out.
Oh, I
I
know.
think it's
I
Netflix or
know.
something. Did
I
you?
don't know. I know. I was just like, oh, yes.
But yeah, I mean, that's a great character. I mean, I would love
Yeah,
to see that, happen.
totally.
And we were talking about, being like, you're being a vet, in the industry now, just all the different roles that you've gotten to play like over the years at this point. Is there anything that you've learned in your career, that you wish that you would have known kind of coming into the business, or any advice that you would have given to yourself when you were first
Ooh,
coming into the business?
goosebumps. Tons, tons. I feel like it comes with I think it comes with a lot of years of experience, but like knowing your worth is a big one, and that's a hard one to learn and to understand. Um, and it's a hard one to act upon too, considering like, the nature of the business sometimes. But I would say that's a big one. Also, like the power of no. I'm sure a lot of people have said this before, but like really understanding what that means and not like just saying no because you don't want to do it. Like for me, it becomes a pivotal moment of like, why am I saying no to something or like feeling a resistance to something, like understanding what that world is. Because sometimes you can be emotive and have a really big no reaction, and it can be coming from a place of fear,
Yeah.
right? Um, and then also like God, as I'm getting older, like I'm turning 40 this year, and just with everything going on in my life, I think finding a good balance and like God, without trying to sound cheesy, but like just finding a good balance overall in your life because I think your life fortifies your work. I think if you just live a flat, focused, like work focused life kind of thing where you're just like consumed, you're not really bringing like a fruitful energy to the characters that you're being asked to portray that have a whole life of their own, if that makes sense. So I'm a
Oh yeah.
huge believer in balance and just like taking a break and knowing that when it's fucking slow or you feel like you're tired or there's a lull in the biz, that's a great time for you to like take time for you to fill up your pot so that you can put out more when the opportunities come knocking at your door and you're ready. And I say that as a hypocrite right now because like I have not been in the gym for like a good 2.5 months because we've been traveling. So for me, that's my goal now is like gym every day, get my body back to like better and beyond because that's what keeps me going. Like I'm a very physical person. I need to be moving my body or I get stagnant everywhere, creatively, physically, spiritually, everywhere. So I think those are some of like my top three because it just keeps your craft solid, I think. And of course, I don't need to say it, but I'll say it, training. Like keep up with your training, whatever that is for you. Fill up your toolbox, sharpen those tools, right? Like we all have a toolbox as a performer and whatever craft or work you're doing. And I think it's vital to make sure that every fucking tool in that box is sharp and ready and lubed up to be used like at full force when needed, as opposed to like waiting around and being like, oh shit, my accents are rusty, or like,
Yeah, I haven't
oh,
done this
this
in a
is
while.
rusty. Yeah, yeah, and that might be hard, like if you're not around horses, but you can ride horses, how do you keep that up? So it's like a challenge, right? But
Yeah.
I think those things are huge. It's like I
No,
could go
no.
on and on. It's
I
like,
mean, all of
but
those I think are some great advice there for sure. I know, like, just talking about like making sure to like kind of take time for yourself too, I think is important
yeah,
because as a creative myself, I feel like you're always like, oh, I just gotta keep, doing more and more and more, but
yeah,
very easy to get, burned out. And then you don't ever want to feel like what you're doing is, necessarily like a job where it's like you're forced to do it. It's like you want to have fun
yeah,
doing it as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
So that's something that
yeah,
I still even like I've definitely gotten better on that over the past like couple years. But there's still times where it's like, oh yeah, I kind of force myself to take, time and step away and just maybe
yeah,
enjoy like even
100%.
if it's just one day and just be like, I'm not gonna go on socials or anything like that. I'm just going to have fun, relax, and I think that's super
Yeah,
important.
I'm with you.
And I saw that. So you have, I mean, you're doing a number of different things, voice acting, acting. You have your own podcast. Can you talk a little bit about your podcast as well, and just kind of what was the inspiration about
Yeah.
starting that too?
I had a kid and I had so many people kind of like hitting me up on text and calls, just being like, what are you using? What's this thing? I'm always promoting it, stuff I love on social that I like aligned with brands and, did outreach to them to be like, let's work together. I love this. And at the end of the day, it kind of got like a little bit not overwhelming, but just like I should be doing this a little bit more pay it forward vibes because I'm like only talking to a select number of people. I'm like, maybe this could help a bunch of other people. Like that's what social media is for, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of what it was. It was just like, and I've always wanted to like kind of like tickle my fancy with the podcast space. Um, and I just launched it a little too prematurely because I was just like, let's build a team, make it happen. And then it was just like, I was like keeping up because, I wanted to output something every week and we did do it. We hit the goal for a year, but it was just crazy because I was learning so much still while I was podcasting and doing that avenue because I wanted to really do something that was like not just like a mom podcast. You know what I mean? I wanted it to be like as much as all encompassing as it could be for what worked with our family. So from like, devices to use or nursery stuff to like, helping have male voices in for like maybe dads or like male partners or whatever partner is in the family to feel supported and just finding all those things and putting it out there. Like I think my first episode was actually about my kids' swim glasses, which got like people were like, "What the fuck?" But we have a pool at our house, and I wanted to be safe. Like I wanted her to feel safe in the water, and that was her swim coach was our first episode, and it was a pretty sensitive subject matter for a lot of people. But things like that, where it was just a little bit like maybe outside of the normal window,
Yeah.
but maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I don't really know how it landed so much with people. I just wanted to keep it going and now that one's kind of like petered away because I had other stuff come up with my work. A short film I did was and is still in the festival circuit, so that kind of took me away from that pod, but there'll hopefully be another pod coming soon.
All right. Well, yeah, make sure
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
have to link that down in the description so that way people can, give
Yeah.
it a follow. But do you have any advice too, as far as just for people, looking to start up maybe their own podcast, looking to, or, a YouTube channel or something?
Yes.
Any advice for that?
Yeah, man, get your content laid out like months in advance before you launch it.
Good advice.
That's a huge one, and I know that might be annoying, but and find a really supportive team that can help you, even if it's one or two people, because God, without the people I had in my corner for this, and it was like a small thing, it was a big thing. I would have drowned, and like I still feel like I'm drowning from it, but like I think you need to really have your infrastructure in place with like your content because when it gets rolling, you want to be able to keep moving and not feel like, oh shit, like we have to edit the next one and it's launching next week and like feel, lost in the weeds there. But that'd be my biggest thing.
Yeah, no, no, I think that's some coming from a fellow content creator, putting out like videos and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I can totally respect that, especially when it gets to like there's certain points where it just gets like for me with I love like the fall and Halloween and stuff like that. So it gets to
Oh
that
my God, yeah.
season. I really need to do it this year. I always tell myself, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do all these videos ahead of time, and it
Yeah.
never fails. I end up doing them like, week to week or whatever kind of thing.
The day of,
Yeah.
Pat.
Oh yeah, I've done that
That's
before.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, if you can plan, get stuff out, you're gonna thank yourself so much, in the
100%.
future.
But I don't know about you, that's hard for me because I'm more of like an in the moment person. So like
Yeah.
it's hard for me to project what I want to do for Halloween in August.
Yeah. Oh
I
no.
don't know. So that's why it's just like important to have someone on your team maybe whose brain works that way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And hey, we got to get this stuff done. No, I completely
Yeah. Yeah.
understand. And yeah, one
Yeah.
of the other things, you brought up too that, producing a short film. Can you just talk a
Yeah.
little bit about, you said it's doing like the festival circuit like right now, like currently, you
Yeah.
said. Can you just talk a little bit
Yeah.
about what you can say about the film
Oh,
and just
yeah.
how you got into producing?
Um, well, the film is a spawn child between my production partner and best friend Steven Sawchuk and I. We created this film over the course of the last few years. When we were at a film festival in Atlanta for our other film, and I mean, it's his little brain baby, and now it's out there for the world to see. It's called Hell is a Teenage Girl. And it's in the festival circuit right now. So it just finished at Fantasia Film Festival in Montreal, which is an amazing genre film festival. We had a blast. Wow, like what a cool experience. And it's already been winning awards. So
That's
we're
exciting.
pumped. Yeah, we're
Congratulations.
really, thank you. We're so thrilled by the amazing talent and crew and cast on this project. And God, we can't wait to make the feature. Like that's just where this is going. Like it has to go that way from all the reviews we've been getting. All the critics are like, "Where's the feature? Like we need to see the feature. Like it's
I was
not
going to
enough in
follow up and ask
15
you that.
minutes." Yeah, yeah. And it's just, it's just a matter of aligning with the right people at the right time to make that happen. But we're just thrilled to see what the rest of the festival circuit is going to project for us. And like it's a fun slasher movie, a little homage to
Right in
Scream and
my
like
alley.
other goodies. Yes, and Steven's like favorite movie, Scream. So it's like, and I love horror. Like that's I think why we love making stuff together. And he's just such an inspired being, and like I like he's my best friend. Like I love working with him, but yeah, it's just really fun. It's about a girl whose dad is the a serial killer of a small town, and they've never met. So he's the estranged daughter of our lead named Parker, and she is in high school. And every year on Halloween, the slasher comes out and kills all the kids who break the rules, like don't do drugs, don't have sex, um, and don't drink. And she just wants to put an end to the bullying for herself and his like reign of terror, so she can just like live her life,
Yep.
and we'll see what happens. But
Wow.
yeah, it's
Now
pretty fun.
do you know, I know it's like doing the festival circuit. Do you guys have any
Yeah,
idea like when it's going to be available for
available.
like general public? Yeah.
I don't know yet. We really have to see how that all works, at the end of the year. Because when it's in the circuit run, it can't be public. So
Yeah.
that's just kind of the only caveat there with like the world really seeing it. But I
Gotcha.
do hope that once it's done in the festival circuit, it's going to be available somewhere somehow. We have to figure that out. But yeah,
Well,
it's
I
yeah,
can't
it's
wait
all in
to
the
see it. I
works.
mean, like you hit all the points. I mean, Scream, favorite movie of all time.
Yeah,
Halloween,
so
favorite
good.
time of the year. So I
Yeah,
mean, this is like
yeah,
right up my alley. So
yeah.
I can't
It's
wait to check this out
wonderful.
once it is available. And then, yeah,
Thank
like
you.
it sounds like, where you guys got a lot of like interest for the film too. If you're going to turn this into a feature, that sounds like
Yeah,
it'll be amazing too.
yeah. Fingers crossed. I mean, I just hope that the right people align with us to help make it happen because it's not an easy task. And I think when you just love a project so much, you just want everyone on board to love it as much too. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Or have some love for it. But yeah,
I
let's see
was
what
talking
happens there.
to Isabel Furman like recently in an interview and she had brought it up, which I was like, I completely agree. She said that every film is a miracle. And
Yes,
I 100% like I agree with that
I
too.
love
Like
that.
you never know, like so many a lot goes into, to
Yeah,
making, films or just anything in the entertainment industry in
yeah,
general. A lot, like you said, a lot of the stars just have to align and everything at the right time.
yeah.
So fingers crossed for you guys because this is
Thank
something that I
you.
know I would love to see. And
Thank you.
horror is pretty popular right now. So, I mean, I
I
think there will
know.
definitely be an audience for it.
What town are you in?
So
Where are
I'm
you
on the
at?
East Coast. Uh I'm in New Hampshire.
Well, hopefully if we get into some film festivals out in that hood, you can probably see it there or near there.
Yeah.
So,
I would
yeah,
definitely if I yeah, you'll have to let me know if like if they're coming this
for
way, I'll have to
sure.
go and check one out for sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah, so I mean, as far as I wanted to talk to you about some of your like, older projects as well. You got to
Sure.
work on, Supernatural, one of my
Oh,
favorite
yeah.
series. I started watching that. That came out when I was a freshman, I think, in high school. And so I watched it, all throughout high school, 15 seasons, like super dedicated fan base. Can you
Wow.
just talk
Yeah.
about the experience of, being on that show and working, with the guys?
Loved it. Loved it every time I was on. Um, Loved it so much that I wish I could have just kept coming back at some point or somehow, but it ended. Um, those guys were lovely to work with through and through. Like the most amazing vibes on set. Um, I mean, my husband even ended up playing golf with them at some point. I don't
Oh,
even know how
cool.
that happened, really. I think Jim Michael, one of the producers, like it all just like kind of worked out. It was just really cool. And they're so nice. And that set, I mean, it's like a well-oiled machine. Like when you're in it that deep for that long, like
You have to be.
maybe it didn't feel like it to people in the day. Sometimes I don't know. I can't comment. But like for me coming in as like, a guest star on the episodes, it felt so lovely and welcoming. And it was just a lot of fun. And I had two different roles in that show for, two different characters, like totally displaced. And that was cool too, because that's a rare thing that ever gets to happen where you get to come back as like a totally different character.
Yeah.
But it worked. I think it worked. Yeah. And yeah, it just like makes me smile. Like being on that show was like a great time.
And it's just, I mean, a show with like such a like a great like legacy. I mean, and it's crazy too because
Yes.
we'll see what happens, but I've heard like whispers and rumblings of like a potential like not a reboot, but like a carry on of the story. Like I've seen Jared and Jensen talking about because I don't know, and I could be totally wrong on this, but I don't know if they were like 100% happy with necessarily how it kind of wrapped up at the very end. So continuing
Oh,
that story, and again, I could be totally wrong. This is stuff that you see that online,
ooh.
but I would love
Yes.
to
It's
see that
is
story
it the
continue.
clickbait? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Clickbait. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just having you don't see that too often. Having a show running, 15 seasons. That's not
God,
something that
no.
happens every day. So,
Well, I mean, then there's General Hospital, which is on like season 62 or
oh yeah,
something.
yeah,
Like, I
that
don't
doesn't
even
happen
know.
every day.
I don't even know. Yeah.
My parents are a big fan of that. They watch it every single day. They love their
Oh,
General
bless.
Hospital.
They would know everything. That's amazing. That's so
And
stellar.
another show too, which right up there is Arrow. Your time on Arrow.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about that. Working with
Yeah.
Stephen and Mel, and just again, just what that whole experience was like, and again, like being in another, you had like your Black Canary and like that universe like as well. So it must be kind of weird to, even though you didn't play the character there, but revisit
Yeah.
like, getting to visit that character in Justice League now.
Yeah, it's so weird because I remember auditioning for that and like you never know what the hell you're doing because it's always kind of like dummy sides in a way or
Yeah.
very like NDA and I'm like what are we doing here? But when I booked it I was like this is thrilling and like I didn't realize it's going to be so intimate in terms of like a set. Like I didn't know that it was just going to be like Stephen Amell and then some like other characters the whole season with my storyline. So that was kind of interesting as it developed over the season. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, like this is the world. And I think what was cool is I found, like the comic books leading up to that storyline, which were kind of interesting to read, and then how they kind of blended it in for screen. But yeah, it was a great opportunity. And it was like, I was living in Vancouver at the time. It was filming in Vancouver. So it was kind of awesome to like wake up and drive to set and like do that work and then drive home, if that makes sense. Like it
Yeah.
just felt really cool, like that it was in like your own backyard in a weird way. Um, but I thought I had such a blast on that one too. Like I got to work with James Banford a lot, who did a lot of the stunt coordinating, and he was someone who just really empowered me in that avenue of the work because I love, as I mentioned earlier, working with my body. Like, use it, it's here. If it's not broken, let's like put it to work. And he was just so supportive. He's like, you can do this. You can do this action. And I'm like, I can. And he's like, yeah, and you're going to do it. And I'm like, amazing. And so there was like a lot of stuff throughout the season that I got to do, except some of the crazy stunts,
Yeah.
like wire ratchet pulls, which like I'd love to do one day. But it was just real, like that's kind of what like was the biggest highlight of that show because like we were always doing some crazy shit. Like there was like firearms in the scene or like this thing exploding or like this is happening or there's a little fight scene. So it was kind of just all in. Like I was in the ocean, you know what
Yep.
I mean? Like
Yeah, I get to do a
so
lot
that
of
was really fun.
yeah, no, I mean the CW that took up quite a bit of like my life during that time where it's like you had Supernatural, you had the Arrowverse with all their different
Yes.
shows that came out.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
it's too bad like now I don't think like I don't know I don't believe they have too many shows that are still on like the CW. I believe someone
I
else
don't
bought the
know.
network and they're going like away from it or what's going on.
Yeah, I'm a bad actor for that because I just don't really keep up with the trades in that kind of a way. I just hear murmurs of my friends that are still in Vancouver, let's just say that are auditioning and working, and they're always like, yeah, this is what's filming here. This is what I'm reading for. And I'm like, oh, okay. And like, of course, my agents. But yeah, I don't know what's really happened. I mean, I guess like Toronto might have some shows filming.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on in LA to be honest with like the CW stuff, but
I've always
meh,
there I mean there's always a lot of like filming going up in like places like Vancouver and stuff like that.
always. Yeah, yeah,
I say I
yeah.
know they shoot a lot of like Hallmark Channel like stuff is like up there like I
Oh,
believe like as well.
tons. Yeah, they do. I mean, I don't live there anymore, but I mean when I was living there even up until like 2021, like yeah, it's still there. It's like
So you got everything.
fully happening up there. Yeah. I feel like a lot of my colleagues are like on set right now for
Yeah.
a Hallmark project or something or a series.
Correct. Yeah, I'll
But yeah.
say filming's well, I don't know what it's at because I've never actually been up there, but it's like filming in like August where it's supposed to be, you're filming for like a Christmas movie or something like that.
100%. Yes, you're
Yeah.
like in fake snow with a parka on and it's still boiling hot. Yeah.
You have to pretend, oh
Yeah.
yeah, like it's
Yeah.
Christmas time or whatever, and it's like meanwhile I'm currently
Yeah.
dying right here, sweating. But yeah, no, and just to kind of wrap things up for you too, we've talked about a lot here, on the show already. But is just there anything else that you would like to say about any other projects that you're able to say coming up for you, and
Oh.
yeah, where can fans keep up
Well,
to date with your work?
I mean, the best thing that they can do is just creep me on Instagram. That's where I'm most active, I'd like to say. TikTok is also there, but not as prevalent. My YouTube channel's up there for you as well. You can find snippets of my podcast there. But in terms of the work that I have coming up, there are quite a few projects that haven't fully announced yet, but they're in the voiceover realm of things. So the IG is the best place to go and stay tuned that way. Um, but I mean, other than that, yeah, it's kind of like mum's the word until we're allowed to talk about
Oh
it.
yeah. Yep. No, I know
Yeah,
how that is. So, well, yeah, I mean, obviously, like when you can, you'll definitely, share it on there for people. So make sure you
always.
guys, give her a follow on her socials. I'll link those down below in the description. And Lucy, I just want to say thank you so much, for your time today, coming on the show, talking about all you got going on. It was fun to talk about,
Thank
some of your
you.
older projects too. Like I said, was a big fan of those series. So thank you so much for your time, and you're
Oh,
welcome back anytime in the
yeah.
future.
Thank you, Pat. You're awesome. Hey everyone, you're watching Pop Culture with Pat, and my name is Alicia Rotaro. I am the voice of Black Canary and Black Canary, Dinah Laura Lance, and Young Wonder Woman and Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths. Tune in and have a blast.